It's Due Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, rise and shine. You're on with this Due Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Let's Talk About It Tuesday Church Folk Day, and did we talk about the church folk. Pastor Marvin Winans had a fundraising in the Perfecting Church, and he requested that they donate 1,000 plus one. And he made that phrase over and over and over and over again. He used the same phrase over and over again. Well, they all had to stand up on this line, make this speech, and then say what they were donating. Now, here's my question. If you've already told me what you wanted, why do I have to stand up and make an announcement as to what I'm donating? Why is this a public announcement? Well, anyway, a woman stood up and she said that I'm giving you, and they were supposed to give it separately. She said, I'm giving you $1,000 plus $235. And he said, you're not understanding me. I asked for, and she said, well, I'm working on the other 800. He said, well, that's not what I asked for. Oh, wow. That's what we're doing now. We're mandating that people come up with this money. And if it's not that much, we are shaming them. We are shaming them publicly. We are rejecting what they're giving. Because I didn't see him give that money back. So he was only rejecting in words. But he sure enough took that $1,235. And then we had the video of Juanita Bynum, who got up and made the announcement that the Lord told her that there would be 21 people in the room who would give her $1,066, $1,066, and that she would not have to beg for it. Well, when they all jumped up and scrambled and ran there, she came back and said there's still 5 more. What happened to no begging? You know, this really, really causes us to address what's going on out here in these churches. And you're going to have to stay up on your game. Stay up on your game. You know, for the past 2 days, we've talked about being trustworthy and trusting that God has given you an assignment and that you will not only do it, but that you will do it accurately. And I don't believe those assignments, if they were assignments, were done accurately. If you have a fundraiser, if you need a fundraiser, I never understood, and that's just a Stephanie thing. I never understood why, everybody, this thing got to be divided up. Now, I understand that, if everybody is supposedly committed to this cause and we're trying to, get something, why we all have to come up with, $2,000, $9,000, $10,000. Why? You can give the even breakdown, but let people know that, hey, this is what it would take if all of us committed the same. And what we'll do is by this time, let's see what we can do as far as our own giving. And then what we can do if we all work together and we sell some candy bars or some chicken dinners, whatever it is, because this pressure of Everybody having to come up with this same amount of money, and to the degree where this is not acceptable when they do give. This is a bit extreme, and it has nothing to do with God. Nothing to do with God. There are some people who will not even raise money. They will not. If it's not tithes and offering, that's it. They feel that your tithes and offering should be it. And whatever they do, whatever God will provide through your tithes and offering. But this whole issue of, we all got to come up with this. I've had people give me like 10 tickets to their event and for their church event, and then treat me like a street person and tell me, well, you got to sell all them 10 tickets. You owe my, excuse me. First of all, I don't belong to your organization, your church. I don't have that same obligation. If I can get rid of, some tickets, that, yeah, they'll handle that like that's the way they handle in the street. When everybody is a part of this organization, we all got 10 tickets to sell. But this pressure, I haven't seen that kind of pressure come from the outside people. So trust me when I tell you, this has nothing to do with God. They tie these things to blessings. Juanita Bynum, her presentation was, pretty much if you want to get your blessing, then go and come give this 1066. And you can't let people or help people or make people believe that the only way they're going to get a blessing from God is if they donate this money. They make this sacrifice for this money, because there's nothing in the Word of God that says that. Nothing in the Word of God that says this. So we got to be careful that we are on point with what we deliver to people. And if you are in a church that is behaving like this, especially from leadership, you need to go find yourself a Bible believing church and make sure you get there fast. Because like I said yesterday, if they are giving you this kind of grief, if they are giving you these mandates that are not biblical, then trust me when I tell you, they're giving you some other information that is not biblical. And you don't want to stay underneath that. You don't want to stay underneath that, because God will get no glory out of your life, because everything will be a lie. All right? All right. Well, today is Wow Wednesday. Woo! We here, y'all. We halfway through. We almost made it by the grace of God. And we are going to get our girl Vivian this morning with her socially conscious segment. I don't know what Vivian is bringing to the table this morning, but she's definitely here. So go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody, anybody, everybody that it's due time when Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Top 4 black woman inventors they tried to erase, and the last one will upset you. Number 4, Marie Van Britten Brown. In 1966, she created the first home security system, camera, two-way mic, remote door unlock, years before ADT or Ring. But her name was left behind, even though her patent became the blueprint for billion-dollar systems. 3. Dr. Patricia Bath. She invented the laser tool that made modern cataract surgery possible. Her work restored sight to thousands, but white male doctors ignored her, and her name is still missing from textbooks. 2. Alice H. Parker. In 1919, she designed the first central gas heating system, a black woman engineer during Jim Crow. Her idea heats millions of homes, but she was erased. And number 1. Ellen Eglin. She created the improved clothes wringer, but sold it cheap, because they told her no one would buy it if
good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Wow Wednesday. Thanking God for getting us safely through the first part of the week. We are now in the middle of the week. While everybody else is calling it Hump Day, we call it Wow Wednesday because we do know how we're gonna make it through the day. That's where Hump Day came from. Oh, this is the Hump Day. We got to try to figure out how we're gonna get from one side of the week to the other side of the week. Oh, aren't you glad that God didn't figure that out for you? I know I am. So, if you're in the room, come on, give me a shout out because that's the only way I know you're out there. So, make sure I can say hello to you. So, we got a check-in from our boy Terrence. Hey, Terrence. Thank you so much for joining us. Excuse me. I can't. Thank you so much for joining us. We got our girl Kenny in the room. Good morning, Kenny. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. We got our girl Teresa hanging out with us this morning. Hey, Teresa. Thank you so much for joining us. And we got our Miss Charlene. Hey, Miss Charlene. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And we've got a check-in from Miss Grace. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Praying that you're having a wonderful morning. And all of you are. So, y'all know what time it is. And we don't know what we got coming. But we got our girl Vivian on. So she can bring us the socially conscious segment. So let's say good morning to Viv. Good morning, Viv.
Good morning. Happy Wow Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well, thank you. I'm mad because your shirt is showing and I can't get my camera to show my shirt. So you're going to have to let me know what you did to get your shirt showing. But good morning to you anyhow. And you know what I love to ask you, what you got for us today?
All right. Today on Socially Conscious, we are starting off with a study on student loans. We have been talking about student loans for a while now, them taking off this forgiveness thing and garnishing people's checks in order to make sure that they're getting their money for these student loans. Well, now we have a study that found that people in New York and New Jersey are paying some of the highest student loan bills in the entire country. They're saying about $235 a month in Jersey is what's happening out there, and $209 in New York. For many, that's on top of already sky-high rent, food, and gas prices. They're saying it's no wonder so many young adults feel stuck trying to build a life while still paying for the degree that was supposed to help them get ahead. The bigger issue, student debt keeps holding people back, especially those from, of course, lower income families, where they may be the first in their family to go to college and or graduate college. It's becoming harder to save, buy homes, or even dream big when so much of your paycheck goes to loans. The study is a wake-up call that education shouldn't come with lifelong bills and that we need the solutions to make college worth the cost again. So again, as you know, the race for mayor is going on, the government shutdown is happening. They're really taking a look at how people are struggling, and they're saying that in New York and in New Jersey, for whatever the reason is, we are paying the highest amount when it comes to paying back our student loans. Speaking of school, we have some alarming news for parents and as the school district in New York City. They are saying that they are facing a real risk of chaos this fall as major school bus companies warn they may have to lay off workers and suspend services if they can't secure a new long-term contract. Panel for Education Policy has been extending emergency agreements on a month-to-month basis But the bus companies say that this arrangement is unsustainable and could force routes from some 150,000 students, including many younger children and those with special needs, to suddenly vanish. What could that mean for families? It's more than just missed rides to school. Parents may have to scramble for alternative transport. Kids could face long delays or miss the start time of school on a regular basis. And for students relying on these buses, especially those with disabilities, the disruption could hit hardest. Education officials say they're preparing backup plans, but the uncertainty alone is stressing families and raising questions about reliability of a system, um, critical for so many. So again, as we're going through this government shutdown, I believe we are on day 21 of this government shutdown, and now they are talking about having to lay off school bus drivers. Next, we have our former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo in the news. As we know, now that Mayor Eric Adams has dropped out, this is supposedly giving Cuomo a boost and becoming our next mayor. And he is trying to make a comeback by coming up with a plan for our subway system. He's calling for New York City to take full control of the subway and bus system instead of the state. Cuomo says if the city ran things, the trains would be cleaner, safer, and more reliable. His plan also includes putting more cops in the subways, over 4,000 in total, which would be the most since 1990. But not everyone is impressed. Critics say Cuomo had plenty of time to fix the subway when he was governor, and they're saying he did not. Others warn that giving the city control could get messy and cost billions, since the MTA's money comes from state taxes and loans. But they're saying still the idea is stirring things up. And whether it's about better trains or better politics, Cuomo's plan has everyone talking about who should really run New York City's transit system. And now we have our wow story of the week, which is a listener submitted story. We have our current Mayor Eric Adams, in the news. They're saying Adams is facing backlash after hiring Jasmine Ray, a woman he dated nearly 10 years ago, for a newly created city position that pays around $160,000 a year. They're saying Miss Ray now serves as director of the Mayor's Office of Sports, Wellness, and Recreation, while Adams' team insists that hiring was based on merit and that their relationship ended long before her appointment. Critics say the move raises red flags about favoritism and poor judgment. Miss Ray, who recently released a tell-all memoir called Political Humanity, defended her qualifications, saying she was hired because she knows her work. Still, the timing and optics of the decision are fueling debates about transparency with Adams and his administration. Supporters say it's normal to hire people you trust. Opponents argue that even the appearance of personal bias can damage public confidence. And this controversy only deepens ongoing concerns about how the mayor files level city roles. So here he is on his way out and still making headlines for negative reasons, unfortunately. But this has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wow stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me on Facebook. My username there is Vivian BM, and come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal listeners, and thank you, Pastor Steph.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you. Before we get started, we got a shout out from our girl Kyra. Good morning, Kyra. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You got some interesting stuff sitting out here, Vivian. Now we don't have Lady Tamika today. She is still under the weather. I'm beginning to wonder if Brother Al's the reason why she's still under the weather. Once he broke his hand, she got sick. And now she hasn't been on the broadcast. So I need her to show her face because I need to know if she's really safe out there. What do you think, Viv?
She definitely got to show signs of life.
Yeah,
I need to know.
yeah. And not those posts in the chat room because he could be behind the keyboard. Where's Shanti said? We got to start questioning these things. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
All right, thank you.
Fine,
Vivian
thank you. How
says
are you?
exactly what I'm thinking about. She needs to show signs of life. Lady Tamika may not really be safe. We need to see her face.
Brother Al ain't about that life. She all right.
Because we sure have seen Brother Al.
Right.
Prayers for our Lady Tamika, hoping that she gets well. She does keep in touch. And so I don't think he's using her verbiage. So I think we safe. I think she's safe. But we got some interesting topics here this morning, ladies. We're starting off with the fact that the people in New York and New Jersey are paying the highest rates in repayment for their student loans. And as Vivian said, we already experiencing high rent, and the cost of living here is a lot more expensive than other places. So how do you even get to, where we're the highest in repayment terms? That's crazy. Now, for the young people, it's really kind of bad because they've taken these loans with the hopes of finding a job. They haven't been able to find a job. So how do you begin to pay back your student loans? Vivian, do you know the typical repayment terms? So in other words, do you finish? I know Teresa just got finished, with school. I don't know about, any loans or whatever. But for anybody who knows, do you know, like, when you finish school, do you get like 5 minutes before you start paying? Do you have to start repaying right away? How does that even work?
So I just enrolled back into school, and they make you take like this online course about your student loans. So they say 6 months after graduation date, you're expected to start repaying on these loans.
That's the only term. That's the only real clause.
As far as I know from speaking to other people, yes.
Okay.
Of course, you have options of deferment and this, that, and the third. But typically, as far as I know, it's 6 months after graduation.
Okay. So let's start with that one. Let's start with that. We got a little bit of time to talk. Is it reasonable to finish school and be expected to start repayment in 6 months, or should they put it out even further? Let's start with you know what? I'll start with you, Vivian, since you're the one who started with the school.
No, it's not reasonable, because as we know, we've done stories. The guy who's standing on Wall Street talking about holding up the sign asking for a job. It's not reasonable because a lot of people are not able to get a job in their field. And now you have to take a lower paying job than what you were initially going for when you decided to go to college and chose your major. So no, 6 months is not a reasonable amount of time to now have to start paying, especially if you're in New York and New Jersey, because you're paying the most. You're expected to pay the most. So no, they need to give more time than that.
What would be a reasonable amount of time for you, in your opinion?
I would say maybe a year and a half. I would say a year and a half is a good amount of time. And if, by the grace of God, you're able to start paying early, then great. But give them that leniency to find a job, get on their feet. Because when you get a job, you're not going to automatically be able to start paying. Let them get a nice little savings nest in and, get their bearings together before they're forced to start paying on these loans. So I would say a year and a half to 2 years after graduation, you should
Okay.
start having to pay.
Okay. Okay. Teresa says I was paying during. It took 6 months for them to start charging me. Okay, so she had a little leg up because she was paying before they actually started. Okay.
Yeah,
She said
you can
college.
always pay. You always have
Okay.
the option of paying whenever you feel like, whenever you're able to start paying. But like she
Okay.
says, 6 months they start with the interest rates and they start charging you for it.
Okay. She says college tuition is expensive in New York City. One master's class, 3 credits, can be more than $2,000. Wow, wow, wow. We got to check in from our girl Renee Dawkins. Good morning, Renee. Thank you so much for joining us. Renee says that transition is definitely a culture shock. 1 to 2 years would be reasonable. Okay, okay. Teresa, what do you feel would be reasonable? If you can throw that out. Tara says it's crazy you're paying all this money for college to work at McDonald's. It's true because you
Right.
don't know where you're gonna land. You don't have any idea where you're gonna land. Shantice, what do you feel is a reasonable amount of time for them to start expecting repayment on these college loans?
I would say at least 2 years, because a lot of times, even if you are working during school, that's still a whole lot of juggling, so you're still having to pay for your living during school. And like Vivian said, now, give you a little time to get your bearings together, and then you start paying. It's like they rely on you going into debt. They rely on being able to hit you with all these interest fees and late fees, and because that's really how they make their money. They make their money off interest. They make their money off late fees. So it's like they really bank on that. And I'm really seeing how college really is more about the experience. It has nothing to do with the afterlife. It has nothing to do with getting a good job so you can be set up for your family and buy the house and buy the car. It's almost like mandatory school, K through 12. K through 12 is not about what you learn in the books. It's about everything you need to learn for life. College is just about having the experience for the most part. Because now, as we're seeing, you have these degrees and yet you're not really getting anywhere but in debt. So, it's like, why is they know 6 months who's really ready to start paying. If you're ready to pay on something in 6 months after graduation, you could have been paying. I could have been billing you while you were still enrolled in school.
All right. So for those of you who are online, taking classes, I'm sure, you know, um, there's no fees. But what about those who are going to live classes? They still got to get books and all kinds of things, correct?
Yep. Still got to
I'll
eat.
take classes online and there's still fees for material. Even though it's not hands-on material, they still charge you for
Really?
materials. Yeah.
Wow. So they still hitting you for something.
It's
Wow.
probably not nearly as much as if I were
Of
going in
course, of course.
person. Yeah, but they break down what they're charging you for, and materials was definitely on that list.
Wow. So you're paying, is that part of the tuition?
Yes.
Okay. 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 All right. Well, what do you think of the fact that New York City and New Jersey are the two highest um, states in the country? Before we go, Renee said they should make sure you get into your field first because that's what you actually paid for. Working at McDonald's after graduation should be a hardship that should be considered. That makes a lot of sense. That
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense, you know,
Yeah.
that they're kind of monitoring. Because I was going to ask the question, should they, so I'm charging you to go to school here. Should they now be responsible for helping you find a job? Am,
Hmm.
am I being too unreasonable if I'm paying? Teresa says 3 credits cost $2,000. So if I'm paying all this money, should I be expecting you to have some areas of where I can go out and you help me find a job. Is that unreasonable, Vivian?
I don't think it's unreasonable, but then you get into like colleges becoming like trade schools, because I know that's a lot of the reasons why people decide to go to trade schools over
Mhm.
college, is because they get that experience and then they help you find a job afterwards. It would be nice, even if it's not your responsibility to help me to make sure I'm in a job in my field, but at least if y'all offered the assistance, like gave us the list of jobs that are
Right,
available in these
right,
fields or something, that
right.
would definitely be worth the tuition.
What about you, Shantice? Do you feel that that's an unreasonable expectation?
No, because again, you're dealing with professors who they are in, so if you have a journalist professor that's teaching journalism, they have connections within that field on the outside of it. So why not be able to have a listing of openings, internships? They have listings for internships. Why not have listings for job placement? And ensuring that it should be mandated that you take an internship that will lead to a possible position, and that'll be also a great incentive for you to finish school. Because a lot of times, how often do students get discouraged? Especially if I was enrolled in school right now, I was hearing all of this dropout time. I wouldn't be sure, like, what would be the incentive for me to keep going? For me personally, unless I was in person and I'm so engaged in campus life and so on and so forth. But just to be going to get this degree so I can get this job, no. That's you. It's like you have a better chance of just paving, pacing the pavement and hustling and getting a job like that. And most likely you wouldn't end up in a McDonald's or Popeyes or something. But I think that will also be a great incentive to keep the student motivated to actually get to graduation as well. So yes, I don't see that being impossible. They could do that.
One of the excuse me, one of the things that crossed my mind was the fact that if I connected with the businesses as a school, now you're getting people who are fresh out of
Mm-hmm.
school and they can now start filling these jobs. You're not, of course, some jobs really need some experience, but let's be honest. When you started your job, you didn't have experience. Somebody had to be the first one to give you an opportunity to get your feet wet. So, maybe, if they started doing things like that, or you know what, people don't mind relocating. So, so my daughter graduated with her master's in social work, and it was a big class. It was a large class, especially when they called up the MSW, social work. It was a lot of them. So to say, well, we're going to find all these people a job,
Right.
is a lot. But some of them had a job. She had a job already in her field. She had a job already. She just was, completing the educational part. Well, there were some people who would not mind relocating. So why not go to different states and let people, connect with them and let them know, what, hey, excuse me, we have people that come fresh out of school, blah, 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 blah. If you've got somebody there to at least train them, then that helps us help you and you help us. So maybe something like that they could even start if they're not already doing it. I can't assume that they're just not doing it, but maybe something like that, could definitely be an assistance and give more incentive to people who are willing to go to school and get the education. Teresa says 2 years would be great. 1 year is reasonable. I also think it should be incentives for roles that need people the most, like nursing, education, no for no interest. Okay, that makes sense. That would be nice. Terry says you're right, V. It is like trade schools, and that's why people go to the real trade schools because they know that they will get hired in that trade. Yeah, that's what people do. When they go, that's the little leverage that trade schools have over colleges because they do help you find jobs. But going back to, you know, is it fair that we're even the highest? What's your thought, Shantice?
With New York City paying the most,
New York, and New Jersey.
New Jersey paying the most, not surprising at all. From my understanding, we pay the most in everything. The most rent, the most taxes, the most this, the most that. So why not pay the most tuition? Why not just throw that in a bucket with everything else? That's not surprising at all. It's sad, and when you think about young people because typically if you're older and you decide to go back to school, most likely you're not traveling. But for like those fresh out of high school, from other states, maybe even another country, they want to come here, especially New York City. Like, what? I want to go there and go to school. And this is the capital for when you want to major in theater and you want to major in journalism and you want to major, all of those things. So, for them, it's like, I'm willing to pay the extra because I understand where I'm going. For those of us who grew here, listen, I walk past NYU every day, ma'am. I'm not paying, I'm not okay with paying $5,000 for 2 credits. But it's not surprising at all. That is just like what you get when you engage in New York City and New Jersey.
Okay. Viv, you think it's like crazy and unreasonable and unfair?
Yes, I do. And I always say I do not get the allure of New York. I don't understand why people dream and rush and just want to be here so much. With everything being as expensive as it is, it doesn't make sense that somebody in New York and New Jersey can go for this degree or this what is it? Go for the same major as someone in, let's say, Pennsylvania or Staten Island. But because I live in New York, I'm going to be paying more to get that degree than someone who lives in another state. That doesn't make sense to me. They need to have it to where your major, no matter where you live, this is what is going to run you. Like, why can't it just be equal across the board? That doesn't make sense to me. We're both taking we both have to take the same classes, get the same amount of credits, be enrolled for the same amount of time. Why would it cost me more than it would cost somebody who lives just 2 hours away from me? That doesn't make sense.
Well, unfortunately, tuition also pays the professors' salaries, correct? We'll look at the cost of living and what we're making here. So it is unfair. However, if you're factoring that tuition covers a professor's salary, then yeah, we're gonna be paying more because it costs a professor more to live here. Now, if you're online, that's a whole different story. But to go to live classes, and these professors are being paid more than professors in Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, in other states, then it makes sense because now it costs more. So, and that's how pretty much everything kind of gets balanced out. They have to work out what is it going to cost us to do this? If it costs us $5,000 to do this in Las Vegas, and it only costs us $2,000 to do it in Nebraska, then there you have it. There's not going to be the same balance of repayment. There's not going to be the same balance of charge. So it's almost like when you're in the city and you're paying. We go to the city, we pay $18 for a burger, but if we go in the Bronx, that same Shake Shack is only going to charge us $11. So unfortunately, that's how it works out, and that's what pushes us up into the more expensive arena, and that there is going to kick your butt. And another reason why people are relocating, even to go to school, because it costs a lot of money to go to school here. You're talking about NYU, you're talking about Columbia, you're talking about some real prestigious schools here. And the bigger the name, the bigger the money. So, to go to these schools, the professors are being paid a lot of money, and to be at these prestigious schools. So yeah, who they're going to kick it back to? The student. So it isn't fair. It doesn't make sense, but at the end of the day it does, because just like everything else, it's all the cost factor. What does it cost to run the same program in another state? So that's why people, like I said, people are getting up and they're going out of state. They're not sticking in New York, to get the same, like you said, Viv, to get the same exact degree that I can pay to get, in Boston. Who does that? So Teresa says most colleges has a department to help students get jobs. I don't know. She's trying to say I didn't use my college connections because they were entry roles and I was already working. Oh, I see what she's saying. So she said she didn't go with the connections because she was already working in her field. Also, they weren't organized. The one time I was interested in one place of employment, I inquired about it. They sent me an overwhelming list of email. So again, listen, y'all getting all this money, you better be organized. What is that? We got a check in from Miss Herlima. Good morning, Miss Herlima. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a check in from Serge. Hey, Serge. Good morning. And we got a check in from Pastor KL. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning.
So, this is one of the kick in the butts of living in New York. The question was, what's all the draw to New York? And it's like what we always say when we go away. We go away to Vegas or someplace, and everybody's like, it's just Vegas to us. That's where they live. No big deal. So all the glitz and glamour they claim is here. We're disenchanted. We're unimpressed. We live here. What I'm saying? It's like, what's the big deal?
That's right on 42nd Street. Like,
right. I see this natural lady.
Can't stand 42nd Street.
Her arm's been raised since I was born. I don't care about that arm, but other people come because this is, the place to be. And, maybe they'll continue to find it. Listen, we want them to come because that benefits us at the end of the day. May not see much of the benefit, but it does benefit us. All right. Now, this is a question that I have always asked each and every time Vivian starts off the school year with the same conversation. In New York City, they are struggling because the buses are not going to be able to hit their roads because the people are being laid off. The drivers are being laid off. They don't have a contract in place. Up to 150,000 students are going to be or could be affected. They're doing somewhat month to month, minute to minute base arrangement and hoping that, things come together. I keep asking, why don't they have a plan? All right. Well, Pastor KL says just for the food alone, restaurants close at 9:00 in Alabama.
Wow.
So, we're not accustomed to that. So, well, we ain't running to them places. All righty. So, Vivian, every year, like y'all don't know the school year's about to start. What's going on?
They just not putting their attention on the right things. Again, I go back to this casino that they have been planning to put up. Now they got bids and everybody's trying to get this bid for this casino to be put up in their locations. Like, put your attention where it matters. Why is it every single school year we have to hear about this school bus driver shortage? Now they're talking about laying off people. How you laying off people when you ain't got enough people to drive the buses? They're not putting their attention on where it needs to be. I don't understand. We got the greenery places, all this stuff that's going on, billions of dollars being put into foolishness. When we got kids every year Every year we talk to the kids from the church about those who take the school bus. Every single year, this little boy is now in the third grade, I believe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Every single year, they talk about how the school buses are late coming to pick him up, bringing him home. Different school bus drivers every year throughout the year. It doesn't make sense. They need to really just sit down, come up with a plan, put this money in that needs to be put in so that they can be just solidified and settled with this and just move on. Like this just don't make no sense.
Shantice, yet again, we've got another September, August school year starting, and we're still fussing about the school buses.
As it was said, because your focus is elsewhere. As it was said, you knew last school year that this school year was coming. Because even if Jesus came, this school year was coming. Why y'all not prepared? Why do you not have the funds in place already? Why is it all of this money that's being allocated for all of these other things? So you have the after school programs barely hanging on. But why isn't it in place for these jobs to be solidified, for these contracts to be in place, all of that, so that these students and these parents don't have to now worry about. You have parents who can't even, who are, listen, either they can't afford to get their kids to school, or time wise, the school buses help tremendously. Because by the time the school bus picks up my child, that's great, because then I can just mosey on down to work. I don't have to now get up extra early and possibly have my kid there before the school doors even open, because I got to be to work by a certain time. I got to be to work the same time the school doors open. Like, there's so many different factors. Like, why isn't this in place? And to be honest, there is no real reason. Because they pay attention to what they want to pay attention to. They put money behind what they want to put money behind. And now here it is, about to be the second semester of school, and already you have this headache. The parents have this headache. Why?
Wow. Now, Vivian, am I understanding you correctly? This is New York City, not New York State. Okay, I thought so. Well,
Yeah.
Pastor Gail says, no one wants to drive man and Bonquita to school every day. They're just too bad. You know,
But kick them off the bus.
okay, so so for the record, that's why I wanted a distinction between New York City and New York State. In New York City, the greater part of those who ride the bus are those with special needs, are those with IEPs. A regular child cannot get on a school bus. Now, I'll tell you how they zone it. So in New York City, every so often geographically, you have a public school. So each child should be able to walk to the nearest public school. They have a little disparity out in Queens, but all the other boroughs pretty much have within walking distance a junior high school that they can go to. When you walk to, when you get to high school, you can go to any high school you want to go to. It's not a zoned school anymore. Hasn't been zoned in years, since even when I was going to school, and that's like over like 40 years now. Because I graduated, for like 41 years now. You could go anywhere you wanted to go in New York City. All you had to do was, put your papers in. When it was time, when you were graduating junior high school, you could put into wherever you wanted to go via high school. Also, you can really do it now because they've opened up all these different opportunities for these focused campuses, if you will. So, having said that, very few children need a school bus if you are not a special needs child. For the most part, this 150,000 children who will be left without transportation are children who have issues.
Yep.
I'm telling you, this is a fact. This is not something that I think. This is something that I know. Okay? So, that's not even the major population of the school, period. 150,000 students are the only ones you got to worry about getting back and forth to school. Now, if there are issues such as Bonquita and Man, then that's a disciplinary issue. You don't let them
Right.
ride the bus. Let their parents worry about, you know, their transportation because they can't ride the bus because of behavioral issues. So to me, that's a no-brainer. But when you talk about, you know, you don't have enough drivers, you don't have a proper contract, there's no reason for this. There's no reason for this. And I do believe that there is a shortage because Vivian's been talking about this. I think it's like the fourth year, the third, fourth year
Mm-hmm.
that we're starting the school year, and she's talking about, and it's not only New York City, because I remember specifically last year it wasn't necessarily New York City she was talking about. So every year, no matter where you go in the country, you got issues with bus drivers. So my question becomes, why do they have issues? It is not just the children as to why they have issues. When they're talking about a contract, what do you need in these contracts that's not there, that these people feel like they're not getting what they should get? I would love to see a bus driver contract and what their expectations are, what their pay is, and what the benefits are. Because this is not just an issue of Man and Bonquita. It's not. It's not an issue of people who are not capable of driving. Did we do a couple of months ago? They did like a whole thing where they were giving out food and
Oh yes, the tater tots and
right,
the hot dogs.
right. If they wanted to drive the bus, they were giving them an opportunity, this whole fair, if you will, to for bus drivers. So,
Yeah.
And not only that, again, I say allow these people to cross borders, offer the jobs globally, offer it countrywide. Because if I'm here in New York and I'm having a problem finding a job, and I'm a bus driver, and in Oklahoma, I wouldn't mind going there to live because you're going to find me housing, and I can have a job, and I would be dedicated to the job. Why not do that? Again, simple cross borders. If I'm struggling in New York City as a bus driver, I can't find housing. I'm underpaid. I got other issues. Maybe living in Pennsylvania might do the job for me. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. Open up the options. Sometimes people will accept things on a contract that other people won't. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad, but people are fighting for their rights now. They don't want to work for things that they feel is really not something that they should accept. None of us here. None of us here. When I was in the workforce, you ain't underpaying me. Vivian's not going to take it, and Shantice wouldn't take it. And I'm sure
We're
those
not.
watching, you're not going to take being underpaid or your benefits not being where it needs to be. So, we need to start expanding some of these contracts and really giving these people what they want. Or, like I said, let these bus companies cross the lines, because what may be fine, it may not be okay for you if I'm living in New York City, but I may be able to go to Vegas and drive the bus because it ain't gonna cost me that much to live there, and blah 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 blah. People are all locating all the time. So I don't know. I mean, does that sound crazy, y'all?
Nope.
Not at
Not
all.
to me.
I think that would be a nice little remedy. All right, Andrew Cuomo, we knew he threw his hat back in the ring, but this time as mayor. And he wants to focus on the subway system and the city actually taking over the subway system. Now, am I understanding this right, that the state is pretty much over the subway system, Viv?
Yeah, they're saying that MTA mostly gets their funding from state and loans.
Okay, so he's proposing that the city take it over, and now they would be able to do a better job, keep the subways cleaner, add more police there, blah 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 blah. Would it make a difference, Vivian?
It might make a difference in a negative way, in my opinion. Because if we look at city ran and city owned things now, like NYCHA and hospitals and things like that, they don't have a good reputation. So now to say that if the city takes over MTA, which is already struggling with cleanliness and safety and all types of things, to say the city takes over it, I don't see it making a difference in a positive manner at all. Y'all can't even handle what y'all already have. So why would I be comfortable with adding on MTA to that list of things? That wouldn't make me think that it would get better.
Well, Koya says the subway system sucks. and we got to check in from Evans out in Kenya. Good morning, Evans. Good morning, Koya. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Terrence says, I'm so happy I have not taken the MTA system in 10 years or more.
Wow.
And Vivian says, I don't have that kind of confidence. Shantice, should the city be given an opportunity to take over under Mayor Cuomo's plan to fix the subway system?
If he has a plan, and he has some real backing and the manpower, there's going to be a whole lot of manpower needed to regulate the subway system, because just thinking about walking down there makes me itch. It's like horrific down there. In addition to the lack of cleanliness, and already that's a stretch because you're underground, but just all of the chaos, everything with the riders, and they still haven't regulated. You got the MTA workers opening the gate for people to get in for free. It's like, you got to start from the top, sir. You're going to have to start from the top and undo everything that Mayor Adams already did not do, which is crazy, because if you didn't do it, how you undoing it? But because he didn't do anything, a whole lot got done that needs to be undone. There's just a whole lot of steps that need to take place before the subway system can be considered regulated. It's, again, the manpower alone. You're going to have to be willing to pay people to work, because they'll be willing to work, but you can't be skipping people out on the pay in order to quote unquote regulate the subway system. It's just, there's a whole lot that needs to be done. So if he already has a solidified plan in place, and this is the manpower that's needed, this is how much we're going to pay, this is what needs to be done, this needs to be kept up. Don't do it December 1st through the 3rd and then that's it. And then now you claim you done did your part, or you did what you needed to do to regulate. This needs to be an ongoing thing. Every single day, all day. Them trains run all day, every day. That's when this plan needs to be put in effect. But there's a whole lot going on down there that needs to be taken care of. No one feels safe riding the subway.
Well, you know what's funny? I was going to ask, y'all start naming some stuff that needs to be worked on. And sure enough, before I could get it out, Koya says delays, signal problem, it's overcrowded, it's stressful and ridiculous. She says, I get off at 4:30 and I don't get home until 7:15. It's annoying. Well, of course it will be annoying. I done just spent 8 hours on the job.
Right.
Now it takes me 3 hours to get home. Yeah, I might be postal by the time I get off that train. I can't even imagine this. We were traveling and we went on a train. We had to take the train one stop. So we got off the Long Island Railroad, went to train one stop. And we were walking through the subway and I was like, oh my God. is this what they go through every day? Especially when you've been out of it for so long.
Mhm.
Right.
It is a shock. It's like, ooh, it's hot, it's
And yes, when you
crowded.
walk down the steps past the stuff and you just get that nice welcoming hot air smack you in the
Yes,
face with all the debris and odor. You don't miss that. You don't miss that welcoming smack.
you
He
know,
smacks you.
I was like, oh my gosh, thank God we only have to take this one stop. And then for me, who can't climb the stairs now, shut up.
But the staff
Now,
has to take the elevator,
yeah.
the
And
Candyman elevator, and we're like, oh no,
it
no
was
more
like,
spontaneous movie theater trips.
it was like, because now I'm locked in. I ain't got no other choice now. I gotta take the elevator because I'm not down there long. I can't be down there too long because it's gonna take me too long to walk up the steps, and I don't want nobody hurting me. So no,
Yeah, and then you got to touch the railing.
yeah, because I can't go without touching, and I can't be.
Ugh.
I ain't got enough hand sanitizer to help me.
And mm-mm.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So now, if you're dealing with delays and signal problems and the overcrowded, it would be stressful. So now you're talking about give it to the city. We're going to add more cops. Well, didn't we try that already? And Vivian showed
Right.
the cops Zing, and
In the break room.
right. And they're on the phone and they're not, paying attention properly. They listen, they're just as stressed as the people. They're in them hot uniforms down there. That is no pleasant environment to be in. So, that cop thing, putting more cops down there, that sure ain't gonna make no difference.
Right.
Um, Pastor Kale says, I've been out of the train gone for over 20 years. It was terrible then. I could only imagine what it is now. Yeah, it is not what it was 20 years ago. Well, we used to just jump on the train, boop, 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 boop. We move around. It was a little this, a little that, but it is nothing like it is now. And they have made so many improvements. So remember, since Adams has been in office, we've had, what do you call it, more cops. We've had cameras, right? What else did we get under his watch?
Nothing.
The turnstiles have been changed over and over again, trying
Right,
to stop the
right,
people from hopping. The
right,
benches have been removed and put the
right,
bars
right,
there
right,
instead.
right. So, I don't know what it's gonna take to get this done. Koya, listen, tell us, what do you think it's gonna take to get just some improvement? Vivian, what do you think it's gonna take to get some improvement down there?
I think the cop idea is very good, but they need to put the right people down there because, according to Serge, our residential MTA conductor, the cops down there, they're on overtime. So you're putting people who don't really want to be down there, who are tired after working a full time shift, who really could care less about keeping the people safe. So if you put the right type of people down there, it definitely would help to keep, everyone safe, make people feel more safe. So maybe instead of using the cops that are already on shift for patrolling the streets and this that, like, have a specific group of people be MTA cops where this is your
Right,
job.
right, right, right,
In the
right,
same way you're expecting a conductor not to work another, like, they're not supposed to have jobs outside of the MTA without MTA being known, let known that I have another job. You're expected to work a shift, go home and sleep a certain amount of hours before you come and do your
right,
next shift. If you do that same thing for MTA police, maybe it might be run smoother and be more safer for people if you put the right people in the right places to keep these subway stations clean. Because no, 42nd Street and Times Square and 34th Street, those are the only subway systems that I see they really clean and
decent.
take care of.
Yeah,
Yes. So if you're putting it out here in the hood where it's really needed, then it would make a difference for people who really take the subway every single day. So they just need to put their focus in the right places. You have the right idea, but you're just not managing that idea well.
Okay, okay. Terrence says the stupid Omni card thing. Shantice, you don't ride the mass part of the subway, but you do deal with the Long Island Railroad and a little bit this Omni card stupid thing, Omni card that Terrence is talking about. Is this an improvement to the Metro card?
I don't see the difference because ain't nobody paying. So whether you paying with your fingerprint, the Omni card, whether they go back to the paper transfers, the tokens, ain't nobody paying. So it really don't matter. You can either tap the Omni card, tap your debit card, tap your phone if you put your phone, your card information in your phone. But they still losing money because people just walking on the bus, people still hopping turnstiles, MC employees are still opening the door, you give them $2 for it. They ain't making no money. So as far as that, I don't necessarily know the exact process of loading your Omni card. Because like I said, I tap my phone, but it's like, from my understanding, it's like the Metro card. So I don't really see a difference. The only difference is you don't insert the Omni card, you tap it.
You tap it.
Right. And as opposed to the Metro card where you had to insert it into the machine. But either way, tap, insert, smack the bus driver with it. Ain't nobody paying. So
what's the one thing you feel would be an improvement into if the city took it over? One of the things that they could definitely, hold on, let's read, and maybe you could respond to Koya. She said they need to put people that work, who want to work, not people that's overworked, which is what Vivian was talking about. Also make sure that these cards are clean and keep the homeless off the trains. I understand it's not perfect, but every day it's always something ridiculous. Okay. So this is a person who takes the train on a regular basis. What's the thought behind just that one thing that could possibly make the difference if the city took it over?
Again, the police presence, as it was stated, and keeping the homeless. If they would focus on allocating this money into the proper areas, then there would be more shelters for these homeless people to be in, and they would not have to buy the trains back and forth all day, clearing the carts out because of their appearance and, most importantly, their odor. If there's more police presence, then a lot of this train surfing, a lot of the crime that's going on, people just randomly smacking other people and pushing them and all that going on down there. But again, they're not taking the time to properly do these things. So yes, I believe if there were more police presence. I was walking past 2 cops yesterday and just wanted to smack the phone out of one of the cops' hands. But I'm like, how are you standing here patrolling, scrolling on social media? You guys have been on social media. Nobody scrolled through a text thread that quick. How are you standing here paying attention? You wouldn't have even saw me come up on you and smack the phone out your hand. How are you doing this? So there needs to be, like we have on a regular job, where your supervisor would randomly, walk around to make sure you're doing your job. Why can't they do that with the cops? Don't they have supervisors? Have them randomly. They don't know when the supervisor gonna pop up and just pop up. And if you're on your phone, you automatically fired. Like your job is to pay attention and focus. You can't do that if you're on your phone. So if they were to do things like that babysitting service, then these cops, I bet you they pay attention.
Makes sense. We're always gonna, act right when Big Brother's watching,
Right.
and we know that they can walk up on us. So that will make the difference. We got a check-in from Yvette. Good morning, Yvette. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, so our wow story of the week. Mayor Eric Adams has hired his ex-boo-thang for a $160,000 job. What's the position, Viv?
What is the position? Hold on. A newly created city position that pays. What is this? Director of the Mayor's Office of Sports, Wellness, and Recreation.
What is that?
I was just about to say,
A newly created position.
See, this is how you mess up. Wow. All right, you know what? I'm going to keep my comments to myself. Shantice, you got first dibs on this one.
You know, the Lord tells us we can't live this life. And then you see the come up like this. And it's like, okay, Jesus, now remind me again why I shouldn't be trying to be the side piece of a politician or something, when it seems as though these are the perks. I get to get a new position created for me. I get to have the city. I get to be the one who count all the candy bars and all the bodegas. I get to be the one who makes sure that all the gym teachers are in attendance. I get to whatever position you want to come up with for me, or I tell you I want to do, that's now the new position. And didn't it say she wrote some memoir or something already? So you did that for nothing. Because I'm pretty sure your name is in that memoir. Because that's going to help her get clout. That's going to help her get sales and notoriety and fame and whatever else she's seeking. What are you doing? What is the point in that? We just got finished speaking to the head of the DYCD, Department of Youth. I forgot what the whole acronym stands for. But pretty much the Department of Youth, where Mayor Adams put in position, he put a ton of money into this organization that provides after school programs for kids throughout New York City. And there's a whole lot of different things that they do. And he put this guy in place, and they seem to be doing some really good things and activities and so on and so forth for the youth. Okay, great. So now what is a sports recreational, what does she do? Count the soccer balls? Like what does she do? What does she do to get almost $200,000 a year? What does she do? Is she a substitute teacher for the gym teachers? What does she do? What are her credentials? Did she go to college? Did she finish college?
Is she trying to pay back the student loan?
Did she even finish? Did she finish high school? And now I know black don't crack, but she looks very young for this to be your ex. Now I know on this side of the fence we pride ourselves in being 50 and looking 30. However, you don't look nowhere near 30, sir, and she does. So how long ago was this transaction that she could be considered your ex? And now there's this new position in place.
Koya says, I heard that she wrote some good things about him in the book. Maybe that's why he's rewarding her with the job. Incentive. All right, Viv, hit it.
First of all, as a wife, I'm questioning how you still in contact with this woman after 10 years that you can make up this position for her and offer her this job. Yes. Why are you still in contact with her? Why is there any communication still going on between y'all? So I looked up her responsibilities. It says the director's job to make sure New Yorkers, especially kids and teens, have access to quality sports, fitness, and recreation programs, no matter where they live or how much money they have. She is responsible for creating and supporting youth sports leagues and tournaments, making recreation space like gyms and fields more available, support programs for kids with disabilities and other underserved groups. She is responsible to train and connect coaches with school organizations, partner with private companies and nonprofits to bring in funding data on who has access to sports and who doesn't, makes recommendations to the mayor and writes an annual report on progress, ensures Short, the job is about making New York City a healthier, more active city by expanding opportunities for play.
Oh, what happened?
I think her connection. Wait, I think she's back. Okay. We see you, V.
Okay, so now you and her in this position to where y'all have to get real nice and cozy on a regular basis in order for her to do this now made up job that you created specifically for her. But
She
we're
sounds
supposed to
like
believe that this is just coincidence.
she sounds like a glorified president of the street team. That don't sound like you really doing any. You know how like when I was watching an episode of Living Single and they were going over Sinclair's resume and she put cashier and Max said no, you are a financial some processor, you're not a cashier. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like you just put street team president but then use a whole lot of fancy words to cover that up. That don't sound like no responsibility to me. That don't sound like nothing.
Well, Pastor Kale says he still looks 20. Now, I don't know what that matters because he ain't working for Mayor Adams. 20 or 45, he ain't getting a job. So I don't know what the point of that was. Koya says he's not married. He's just dating women more his age now. All right. Okay. I heard nothing in this description that warranted $160,000. Now, maybe the 60 part, but you are now paying. First of all, let's be real. So if you're paying somebody $160,000 for anything, they got to come with this whole heap of experience, correct? Now,
Yes.
you're too young to have experience to have done all of those things. They should have never showed her picture. They should have made us think she was about 72 years old. And she has had experience in all these things in every decade of her life. Because there's no way in the world somebody this young could have enough experience in all those things that were mentioned where she would warrant $160,000. What?
And so she is a street team president.
That's what, no, for real. You the liaison, you the connection between. That don't cost no $160,000. You gotta be kidding me. Well, good morning, Uncle Joe. What is this? Thank you for joining us. He says, top of the top, happy Wednesday. The Most High has given us another opportunity to do his work. Stay positive, share love, and make today better than yesterday. Continue to be great, ladies. Thank you so much. We appreciate you stopping by and an encouragement this morning. Thank you so much. But I'm sorry. No. When you hire somebody for any position, you're hiring again based on experience. Now, we can't get bus drivers. You don't want to pay experienced bus drivers to drive Man and Boquisha around. Yeah, you want to pay this chick $160. See, here's how we messed up. So someone said, right, we all, those of us who have like a higher up position, we do hire people that we know. You know, that's one of the perks. You know, I can hook my sister up with a job, or, you know, my cousin, you know, as long as he come in here looking decent, or she come in here, she ain't got pink hair, I can get you a job. Just make sure you leave the weed smoking on the outside. You don't come in smelling like weed. You know, we're going to talk before we get you this job. But
That's already a challenge.
That's one of the perks of being in a position where you can hire somebody. We all would look out for somebody, even if it's one person we trusted. I got the ability to hire somebody. But here's where you mess up. Because you know good and well people gonna smash you because you are the mayor. You have been accused of. You are now hiring this young girl at $160,000 to do pretty much nothing. What Vivian mentioned, in my opinion, was nothing in comparison to 160,000. And I can find 10 good bus drivers.
You can, but like you said, you don't want to pay. But she'll pay for that eye candy.
Right. Right.
You'll pay for that eye candy.
But you
until these bus drivers start wearing bustiers and pom-pom shorts while they driving, the school will stay without a contract. Let a flock of females walk on site right now looking like her and say, we're interested in driving these buses. You'll see all the contracts coming out. Each driver will get paid $160,000 for half the year. Because it's eye candy. And it's sad. That's why it's like, this is why you got to follow the Lord and not the world. Because the Lord says, despite what you see, don't fall for the old banana in the tailpipe. And this is what you get. You engage with this and you get $160,000 position.
Well, here's the other thing. You on your way out the door and you can put somebody in the place.
Well, it says that she was given this position back in 2022. So I guess the fact that she is his ex side piece is just coming out. Well, I shouldn't say side piece, that she is his ex-girlfriend is just coming out. Probably because of all the other investigations that's been going on with him, right? That they're just not finding this out.
Because if I can remember correctly, he's been snagged for something like this already. Mm-hmm. There was something in the news already a while ago about him hiring his brother. Wasn't he was the one who hired the brother for $200,000? Yes, he was the one who they were snagging about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, because he hired his brother at almost $200,000.
What was his brother? Party promoter?
I think he was like part of the transit police or something. Somebody, Shantice or Vivian, look it up, please. But it's
yes. He hired his brother to work for his administration. But the city blocked. He wanted to pay his brother $210,000, but the city board blocked that salary. His brother was the senior advisor for mayoral security. Yeah,
I know. The position. He was snagged earlier for making this same attempt to pay somebody, his brother, this enormous amount of money, and they didn't go for it. So now you just slid your girl up in there for $160,000, and she's doing nothing.
Oh, it said he was appointed senior advisor for the security for a salary of $1 a year, and then he resigned.
Wow, because they wanted him out. That's what happened. They wanted him out, so they knew a way to get him out because ain't nobody working for $1. But listen, let's be real. The stuff that Vivian mentioned as her responsibilities, you could have gotten 3 people a job, 4 people a job, and blessed 4 people with a job instead of this one person having a job.
I could go around to the gyms to make sure they're there. That's what you did. So I just went to PS 219 to make sure their gym was there. They got a gym. I just went to PS 160 to make sure their gym is there. They got a gym. That's what she did. I could go around and give me an Omni card. I'll travel throughout the city to make sure all the schools have a gym.
That's what I'm saying. It was nothing to hire several people to work and do these handle these responsibilities, and you would have been able, you wouldn't have even covered $160,000. If you paid each of them $40,000, three people $40,000, that would only cost you 120. So this is something that, this again, this is what this is how we goof. And this is why people don't want him there. Because you have not
Well, I have a
shown,
question.
huh?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you guys think that this is any different than the white people who do the same thing?
No.
Because they put their kids and their families in these positions making big money. But now that
Absolutely.
Mayor Eric Adams is doing the same, it's like, oh, how dare he?
Okay, so Vivian, after 59 years of living here on this earth, let me help answer that question. We black. We black. We ain't never gonna be able to do what the white man does. I don't care what it look like. I don't care what decade it's in. I don't care how smarter we've become. I don't care how many degrees we got. We will never be able to do what the white people do. And that's why I said he goofed. Because you tried to do what the white people do. And we can't. It is, you're absolutely right. It is nothing different than what Cuomo probably gonna get up in there and do, what Sliwa would probably get up in there and do, and I promise you what Mom Donnie is getting ready to do, because it's gonna turn this whole world around. New York City will become little Guyana if Mom Donnie gets up in office. I promise you that. We will have, that's the way it goes down. I mentioned before when Diaz became borough president up in the Bronx. Bronx became a Hispanic town. He put on. He turned it around because that's what we do. We look out for our people. However, you got to know how to play the game, which is why I said this is where he goofed. You could have got three people up in there that you knew that needed a job and paid them $40,000. And do your thing. You could have got your niece, your nephew, your godson, and that would have come to $120,000 between three people. No, you get up in there and they already flagging you for other stuff, you stupid though. They got the brother who you tried to get up in there for $210,000. You got her up in there for $160,000. You don't know how to play the game. Know how to play the game.
No, because see, even though the white people will put their crackhead son in place, they would play the game right, and then we wouldn't know until after they got the position that they're crackhead. We gonna go put the knowing, obvious, blatant crackhead in the position, and then get mad when the officials and the board say we don't want them there. Because overall, we don't know how to play the game. Because all we figure is, I got this position, I should be able to. They're a lot more strategic in that area because they know they people ain't got no business in that position. So we're gonna have to cover some stuff up. And then if it ends up coming out after, then it comes out after. No, we not that savvy. We're too anxious.
Well, what's the answer to your own question?
No, you're absolutely right. It's the same thing as when the other side of the fence does it. But for him, like you said, you weren't smart about it. You could have done it in the same way that they do it, but you not in the same way, because they would put their son in that position for $240,000 a year, and they wouldn't have any qualms about it. They wouldn't care. They would get away with it. But because you're black, you have to do it, but do it in a different manner. You're hiring your ex for $160,000 made up position.
Right.
Now red flags are being thrown on the field because you made up this position for her, rather than just, if you wanted her in your corner, in your camp, you could have given her a position that needed to be filled, an actual position that needed to be filled for something less than $160,000. But you trying to go all out for her, and now your name is out there for the wrong reasons. So absolutely, it's the same thing. But like you said, Pastor, you got to do it in the right way in order to get away with it.
I don't get it. That's why when you said this was a made up position, I'm like, you so dumb. And then when you broke down the responsibilities, I'm like, anybody could have done that stuff. You didn't have to make that job up. You could have slid that in with something that was already existing. And she could have had her little job, and she could have been right there looking like everybody else.
Right.
No, you got to now invent something. Well, that's the first thing that's going to raise the flag. Now, because here now, when somebody else gets into office, which they will, because you out of here. Somebody gets into office. Do you realize now what you've done to her? Because if they come in and they feel they don't need that position,
that's gonna be the first thing that they do.
Right. Now you didn't set it, so you ain't her friend because you didn't set her up on a pedestal that if somebody else walks up in there and they don't need these little trivial things done, they get rid of that position for $160,000. And here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna find their cousin and put them
who's willing to do it for $40,000.
Right. I'm gonna put you in this position, and here's what we're gonna put down that you do. And we're going to give you extra, we're going to cushion it, but we're going to give you an extra couple of dollars to just do this. So already you've set her up for failure because I promise you, she ain't staying in that position when somebody else can. If Sliwa wins, you think he keeping her in that position? If Cuomo wins, you think he keeping her in that position?
Well, Cuomo might.
Stop. He needs to look good. He needs to look good. He getting rid of all the eye candy now. He ain't walking up in for anybody he think that looks like he gonna kiss them. He's out. They out. He's not sticking them around. Because remember now he's trying to redeem himself. So he's not gonna go and do the same. Well, hopefully he's not gonna go and do the same stupid stuff. But if Mom Donnie it goes into office,
No. He would definitely get rid of her.
No. Do you know how many of his family members could take that position for $160,000? He would have 10 of them in that doing them jobs. He would employ 10 people that he knows to do that job for $160,000. Because see, that's what they do. They look out for one another, and they figure out a way to look out for one another. Now, listen, like you said, all you need is a pass to ride for free, and you go around to each school and make sure that the gym looks decent. How many people you think he know can do that job? How many people you think he know? And you know what the problem is? They would be willing to do it for $15,000. They would be willing to do it for $15,000. They ain't got to have no glorified position. All they want is a job. That's the difference also, Viv, between us and them. See, when we know somebody who's in a more mayoral position, we want the titles. We want the big jobs. Immigrants, they don't care. Right, they don't care. They just want a job. They just happy to be here. They ain't got to worry about being deported. They're here legally because somebody sponsored them to be here. All they want to do is work. That's all they want to do. They don't care what you call them. Put them in a position, and the what do you call it? City Hall will be flooded with them. I promise you, because he ain't gonna have to pay them nothing to get the job done. He is going to be able to employ all of the people he knows for barely nothing. We've got some comments here. Let's see what we got going on here. Terrence says we can learn from Trump now. Yeah, he does all kind of crooked things, and he ain't going nowhere. And that's why I said, you think you can do what they do? He is the only president who had 150 felonies who still got elected to be president
of the world. I mean, of the country.
Here, they snag you for making a deal with somebody on the other side of the country, and they putting you out. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Remember now, it was an accusation initially. He was found guilty of those charges, and he is still president. You think you're going to be able to ride the same boat? Go sit down somewhere. Terrence says, and act like I was saying, the girl is a gold digger and she's smart. You can't get mad as to why V's not. He says, why is V not driving to work every day?
We missed the car. He said we missed the car. He is stupid.
Pastor KL says, we won't even disguise the name. Both crackheads, their name is Chip, but we bring Junebug. It's true. It's true. Because we coming in tow with the weed smokers, the tip in the bottom. This is what we coming with. We don't know how to play the game. And unfortunately, he does not know how to do what he does. He could have had several people in there with a job that would have lasted through no matter what administration was in there. Because I'm telling you, she's not going to keep her job. I'm waiting. Please do socially conscious Vivian. Whoever takes the seat in January, please do the socially conscious by June and let me know if she still got her job. Because it's a waste of her position. It's a waste of her position. And they're going to see to it that they get rid of it. So,
thing.
Right? Vivian, how we going out of here today? You know, we talked about the bus drivers. We talked about the loans. We talked about, Andrew Cuomo, wanting to change around NTA. We talked about this last position with Mayor Adams. How are we tying this all in and going up out of here today?
I think the key word for these stories is focus. Everybody's focus is wrong. Mayor Eric Adams' focus is all wrong. Cuomo's focus might be right, but the people that you're depending on, their focus ain't going to be right. So I think the key word for today is focus. Make sure your focus is in the right place. For the people, dealing with the student loans, if you're wise, if you can, make sure you're focusing on getting into your field before you graduate. Even if you got to start at an entry-level position, focus on getting in there, get your foot in there. So once you graduate, it's now climbing the ladder rather than trying to get into a position that in their eyes you don't qualify for, you don't have enough experience for. So make sure your focus is in the right areas and set yourself up for success. And you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
All righty. Shantice.
Do the right thing. Just make sure whatever you do is what you're supposed to be doing. If everyone focused on that, then this girl wouldn't have this position. If Cuomo focuses on doing the right thing, then there will be some improvement within the subway systems. If these institutions focus on doing the right things, they would properly be setting these students up for success instead of just being able to say we took their money and they came here and they learned. What does it matter if I learned, if I'm broke when I leave here? If everyone focuses on doing what they're supposed to be doing to edify the next person, there would be school buses in effect with no glitch, no problem. Because you would see the need for these parents to have a peace of mind as to how their children would get to and from school every day. And providing jobs for these bus drivers and matrons. Like, what happened to the matron? If everyone's doing the right things, then these funds will be allocated properly. So whoever is in the position, and everyone is in a position to do the right thing. You don't have to be sitting at the top to make a difference. What you do as a regular, everyday bottom person makes a difference. If everyone focused on that, then each scenario we spoke about today, it would be it wouldn't be in the news for what it's in the news for.
All righty. Thank you, ladies, for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, ladies.
Thank you. Terrence says, yes, it's a waste of a position, but she might still have a job It all depends on the contract, because that contract might keep her there, or they would have to pay her a lot of money. So to respond to that, so unless the administration works a little differently, New York is I forgot how you term it, but they can fire you at will. They don't necessarily have to um, have a reason. They can make up a reason. Also, you have to remember something else. You're Most times you're contracted through that administration. You don't necessarily Certain positions are just locked in, and that's who you are, and that's what you do for the administration, regardless of what administration comes in and out. Other positions, it is locked into that particular administration. So when the new administration comes in, they can flush you out if they deem that that position is not necessary, especially over a certain amount of money. Now, you're talking about almost $200,000. You better believe she's going to be one that's going to be looked at. Now, here's the other part why I say he didn't set her up for success. When you know how this works. Why didn't you? And I go back to asking, and this is still within what Terrence says. I'm still asking the question: why didn't you, if you needed to create a position, be smart about it? Make sure you create a position that would always be needed, a position that would not be questionable, a position that was so solid that not only would it last through your administration, but the administrations going forward, that the person that you put in the position could have a job going forward even after you're gone. And that position could keep going even when that person decided to move, they died, they retired, they quit for another position. That's what you do if you're smart. So because when you look at these jobs, when you look at the description, it's really not a job that some average person could not do. Really. She is doing an average job for an enormous amount of money. You get flagged like that. Trust me. I have worked in HR at the top of HR. I've worked in HR for 20 years, at the top of HR for 15. When they need to start slicing, that's what they go for. They're going for, let's lay out all the people who have this salary and above, and see what they're doing, how we can shave, get rid of it all together, split it up. It really, at the end of the day, does not work any different than a regular average company or organization. And if you are going to do something, then you need to do something that's going to last this person, and this person can benefit from even after you're gone. So this answers your question as to whether she may still have a job when he's gone. That's why I said it doesn't matter. If you look at the three contenders, none of them people would really need to keep her, because again, what Vivian described as her job duties, anybody could do that. You could actually have an intern doing those positions. When I was in high school, they had high school internships. I don't even know if they have them anymore, but the point I'm trying to make is you can get somebody out of high school to go do some of those jobs, because when we were in the internship, we didn't go to school. We didn't go to school at all. So we spent our day on site. We told them what our interests were, and they found us placement. And we spent Monday through Thursday. Friday, we didn't go at all. And every other Friday, we reported for homeroom and we were gone. So in other words, it's pretty much a full-time job. So they could get an intern to do all those things that Vivian mentioned in her job description. They could get her an intern to do for free. They ain't paying no $160,000, especially when their dollars are scrutinized. When you have to go through your budget and allocate and substantiate why each of those people have a job and why we still need them. You put her on the chopping block. So you do her no favor at all. So I hope that answers your statement, Terrence, as to whether she's going to still have a job, because she may not. She may not. I know how it works from the top. She may not have a job, and you ain't my friend, because you're going to set me up for success. You're not just going to give me no temporary hookup. I don't want a temporary hookup. I want something that I had to go to school for, so therefore I qualify for. As long as you're throwing me a bone, anybody can do this job. And that's what he set her up for. I did not hear one of those things. I didn't hear 3 of those job descriptions that would equate to $60,000, technically. So now you got her sitting in a seat. And now, maybe you remember he was running for office again. So maybe he sold her on the idea that I'm going to be in office, and as long as I'm in office, you got a job. Yeah, that may have been the thought. That may have been the plan. But now that you've dropped out, but let me show you how this works. So he dropped out of the race. Again, it was said that Trump offered him a position in the White House so he could make room for Sliwa or either Cuomo to win. So now you get ready to pack your bags to go to Washington. You sure can't take her with you. You sure can't take probably half them people that you done found these lavish jobs. You can't take them with you. So now you headed off for brighter horizons, and now they here in like little fish in a puddle of water. So when we have ulterior motives, when we are not doing things the right way, we always gonna get snagged. And that's the sad part about it. Vivian said focus. Shanti said another thing, and I'm gonna merge the two of their closings. Focus on doing the right thing, because when you do the right thing, it will work out for you. The word of God says all things work out for those of us who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. We don't have to necessarily work in the church or in ministry to be successful. Because I always like to say God's people need to be everywhere. They need to be in them trains. They need to be in the amusement park. They need to be delivering milk. They need to be the cashiers. God's people need to be everywhere. Because as long as we are trickled around, we're going to be able to make the difference. A woman of God or a man of God who's a cashier will treat you much differently than a person who's not, possibly. Because there's nice people. You ain't going to be in the Lord to be nice. But their attitudes will potentially be different. Some of the stuff you see that some of these cashiers do, a person of God probably won't do. Despite the fact that we're upset or we're angry, if the leading of the Lord is there, you're going to make sure you do things a different way. That's why we're here, to make the difference. And when we don't focus on God and making sure that we keep in mind, and here's the thing, making sure we keep in mind that we're working for God. I don't care who the immediate employer is. Is that what we're doing? Do you remember that God is watching? We talk about big brother's watching. Yeah, Jesus, our big brother, is watching. And is he happy with what you're doing? And unfortunately, we talked about it yesterday. People in power, they get a big head, and now you can't do nothing with them. Is that what we're talking about here? So we're talking about I don't want to talk about the loans, because we kind of justified the loans as to why New York and New Jersey could be paying a little more money. But if we're talking about those who are governing the bus drivers. Why are you in a month-to-month contract when you know these people need annual, 2-year contracts, 5-year contracts? Why are you nickel and diming month to month, putting at risk the children who need to go to school, who need to be on these buses, these people who need a job? Again, what powers that be are in place that are not doing what they need to do to benefit the greater good? Because sometimes you have to step back in order for the greater good to prevail. Yes, yes. We can always have what we want, and that's going to be for the greater good. You have Cuomo, who says, hey, I want to fix the subway system. Is he going to wield his, position and now not do what should be done, but do what he wants to see done? And yet it won't benefit those like Koya, who's riding every day and it takes him 3 hours to get home. Are we talking about Mayor Eric Adams, who creates a position, pays someone an enormous amount of money when he could have blessed several people with that money? What are we doing? Are we remembering that we work ultimately for God? That no matter what we do, if we're the janitor in the school, that ultimately we work for God. That's what the word of God says. We don't work for who we see. We work ultimately for him. If we know that God owns it all, then that position that you're in, he owns that too. He owns every dime you get. He owns every piece of clothing you wear. He owns every home you live in. He owns every car you drive. How do you get those things? From a source of income. He owns that too. So we are working for God no matter what we're doing. So therefore it matters what we do. We talked about wielding your position when we were talking about the TSA workers who, and Pastor K.O. said it yesterday, I don't want my people taking favors. Well, right now, some of these people can't even eat. They can't eat. And unfortunately, we've moved into an arena where we're going to have to take a favor or two, because if we don't, do we really want these people working and taking care of our air traffic? Because we're working on ethics. Because see, what you do supersedes that. So you're absolutely right when you say, you know what, if one hand washes the other. So if they're doing something for you, you better believe that they're going to be looking for something back. That's a no-brainer. However, why do we put ourselves in the position opposed to paying these people? Pay them, and then we can stand on the ground of do not take anything from these people. But right now, these restaurateurs and the public, that's their source of food. That's their source of getting to work, the gas in the car. You've threatened them and said, hey, if you call out or if you're late, you're going to be fired. But yet how am I helping you to even get to work? If I'm at work, I'm worried about my kids ain't got nothing to eat at home. And I'm sorry, you can't have both sides of the fence. Make sure you do your job. So again, it comes with focus. It comes with intention. And all of this stuff, we're challenged biblically. How do we handle God's people? Love your neighbor as yourself. Are we loving our neighbor as ourselves in the right way? We can't have ulterior motives. We can't want to just hook people up, because unfortunately, again, that's the way it looks for the man. Like he just hooking her up, opposed to really wanting to help somebody find a job. And that could have been your initial intent, but because of the way you did it, and Vivian brought a very good point, it's done all the time. All the time. Ain't only done by the other side of the fence, it's done again by any nationality. They look out for their own. So he ain't doing nothing that no one else did. But just be wise about what you do. And God charges us to be wise. He says, who builds a house without counting up the cost? Can I tell you something? It's the same premise. When I say to you, he didn't have my best interest at heart when he was looking for longevity. Let me help put a position in place that regardless of what administration comes in here, they'll be looking to keep you, because I have that confidence that you're going to do that kind of a job. No, it was just momentary. Who builds a house without counting up the cost? He built the house, but now down the line, she may be without a job. And now you look suspect. You ain't tired of setting yourself up for looking suspect? Your brother was being offered $210,000 to do something that someone else is doing for less than half that much. Why would why do we have to go that route? I don't care what the other nationalities do. I was always taught, make sure you're right. So even if all the other nationalities do it and they get away with it and they're savvy and they know how to do it, I still have to answer to God the same way they have to answer to God. And I want to know that when I go before the Lord, I am correct, because he will bless everything I do as long as I keep him as a focus. Now they over there just hooking up their people, knowing that their families are crackheads and knowing that their family won't really do the job and knowing that they're lying and so forth and so on. And they're going to have to answer to God for that. Now, however God responds to them, he does. I'm concerned about me. So let's make sure that we're focused on the fact that no matter what position we get in life, that we ultimately work for God. And that was part of my closing the other night. When we take the position of a husband or a wife, we're not a husband or a wife first before we belong to God. That child that we have doesn't belong to us first before that child belongs to God. If we are parents, we are answering to God first before we're a parent. Because it says train up a child in the way he should go. So regardless of what we feel as a parent, we need to be thinking on God first. So, there's just no way of getting around the word of God. So that's why when you are determined to live your life in the Lord, it's going to just kind of ooze from you. People are going to hear things and they may not agree and they may get upset, but you know the ground that you're standing on. You know the ground that you stand on. You don't have to utter the words Jesus, Lord, God, Christ, in order for people to be able to see who you are and who you belong to. That should be exuding from you. That people are looking at you going, wow, that life is in God. So many people look at you and they don't even know who you are, because you're so busy compromising. You're so busy focusing on what doesn't really matter. You're so busy focusing on doing this and that. I need to make my bread. I need to do this. I got to make sure I look a certain way. I don't look this way. And now people can't figure out whether you belong to God or not. You should be able for the light of Jesus to shine regardless of where you are, because that light is not hidden by anything. You shouldn't have to walk around saying, I'm blessed and highly favored before somebody already knows that you're blessed and highly favored. You shouldn't be walking with your tongue hanging out your head because you're hungry all the time, because you don't know how to do what you are supposed to do, and you're making some bad decisions, so you're hungry all the time, and that's all people see is that you're hungry all the time and that you don't have no money, because they try to figure out, well, what God you serve. Everything we do, we should show that we're living and working for God. Make that your decision today. Every day there's that lesson. And that lesson for today is focus on understanding the hierarchy and the fact that I don't work for Mr. Jones. I don't work for Mrs. Cooper. I don't work for McDonald's. I ultimately work for God. And as long as we focus on the fact that we work for God, we're going to do the right thing. It's not going to be no compromising. All these fights that are breaking out in these fast food restaurants, that wouldn't happen if everybody focused on the fact that they work for God. You mad because somebody came through the drive-thru and got you mad. Give them their food and let them go and pray for them later. Less chaos when we focus on God. Somebody's got to be the first to stop talking. That's my theory. Because when you go to the scripture that says slow to anger and slow to speak, swift to hear, there you go right there. Somebody got to be the first one to stop talking. I hear you. I may not agree, but I hear you. So you be blessed. You have a nice day. And I'm going to continue serving the Lord in my day. And that's how you send the message. So let's focus on putting God first. And that way, no matter what position you get, you ain't got to be the mayor. You got to be the governor. You could just be simple mom or dad. You could be the French fry person. You still on lettuce at McDonald's. And make God happy with what you do. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the ladies, for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us and helping keep that chat room alive. Please, please, please don't miss this opportunity right now to give Christ your life. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship in the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares, where it's Therapeutic Thursday, and we are going to be in the My 2 Cents mode at 7:30 tomorrow evening. Reasonable Doubt, Season 3, Episodes 4, 5, and 6. And as a matter of fact, we're also reviewing Madness. It's a Netflix mini-series, and I think it's Coleman Domingo who stars in it. And come on, join us. Come on in the room and help us figure out whether we should click it or kick it. All right. Look forward to seeing you guys space. Until then, I love